When I first moved to Gurugram, I wasn't thinking about ghosts, spirits, or anything paranormal. I was just a small-town boy chasing a dream, a decent job after college. My parents had struggled all their lives, so when I got placed in a private IT company in Gurugram, it felt like a new chapter. The company didn't offer accommodation, so I had to find a place to stay nearby. That's how I ended up at RK Boys Hostel, a 3-story building located in a quiet lane behind a shopping complex. It was affordable, had decent rooms, and most importantly, it was close to my office. When I first entered the hostel, I noticed it was unusually silent. Not the kind of silence you find in peaceful places, but a heavy, suffocating one. The manager, an old man named Mishra G, greeted me with a blank smile. "Single room or sharing?" he asked. I told him I wanted a single. He handed me a rusty key and said, "Room number 104. First floor. Try to stay quiet at night. Others don't like noise." That sentence struck me as odd, but I didn't think much about it. Maybe the hostel had strict rules. After all, everyone had jobs and needed rest. The first night. My room wasn't bad. A small cot, a study table, and a window facing a deserted backyard. The walls were stained, and a faint smell of dampness filled the air. When I lay down that night, I heard faint footsteps in the corridor, slow, dragging ones. I thought it was one of the other boys coming late from work. But when I peeked through the door crack, the hallway was empty. No sound. Just the dim yellow tube light flickering above. I remember telling myself, "Relax, it's just your imagination." But the footsteps came again, this time, closer to my door. I froze. They stopped right outside my room. My heartbeat went wild. Then, a faint whisper, someone breathing heavily, right next to my door. I slowly gathered courage, switched on the light, and opened it. Nothing. The corridor was empty again. I went back to bed, this time keeping the light on. I couldn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., I heard a soft thud, like someone dropped something heavy above my ceiling. But I was on the first floor, and the second floor rooms were all locked. The manager told me earlier it was under renovation. Then what was that sound? Strange encounters. The next morning, I asked a guy from the next room, Ankit, if he heard anything last night. He laughed nervously. "You'll get used to it. This building has noises," he said, trying to act casual. "What kind of noises?" I asked. "You'll see." That answer didn't comfort me at all. Over the next few days, things got weirder. My bathroom tap would turn on by itself. My towel, which I'd hang near the window, would sometimes be found on the floor, soaked in dirty water. And at night, that same dragging footstep sound became more frequent. I started keeping the door locked and earphones plugged in while I slept. But one night, even the music couldn't drown the noise. I woke up suddenly, not because of sound, but because someone was whispering my name. "Suhaib. Suhaib." My stomach twisted. My name echoed softly from the corner of the room, where the shadow was thickest. I jumped from bed and switched on the light. Nothing. The next morning, I packed my bag and went straight to Mishra G. "Sir, I want to change my room. There's something wrong with 104. He looked at me with cold, tired eyes. "You're hearing things. Everyone does at first. But the hostel doesn't allow switching rooms." "But why not?" I argued. "Because that's not how it works here," he said sharply. "Just follow the rules." The warning. Later that evening, as I returned from work, I saw Ankit standing outside the hostel smoking nervously. "Don't tell Mishra G too much," he whispered. "He doesn't like it when people ask questions." I was confused. "Why?" He just looked up at the building and said quietly, "Because this place wasn't always a hostel." Before I could ask more, he walked away. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I kept staring at the window, half expecting something to appear. Around 2:45 a.m., my phone started vibrating. It was an unknown number. I picked it up, whispering, "Hello." Static noise. Then a distorted female voice. "Get out." The call disconnected. My blood ran cold. I wanted to leave right then, but outside the window, I saw something that froze me completely. In the faint moonlight, a girl in a white dress was standing in the backyard, staring straight up at my room. Her face was pale, her hair covering one eye. When I blinked, she was gone. I didn't sleep that night at all. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a second. The image of that girl standing in the backyard, staring up at my room, was burned into my mind. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her pale face again. When the morning light finally filled the room, I felt like I'd survived something I couldn't even explain. I packed my bag and decided to skip office that day. I needed answers. Searching for answers. After breakfast, I walked to the reception counter. The old manager, Mishra G, was reading a newspaper. I tried to sound calm. "Sir, who lives on the second floor? I keep hearing noises at night." He didn't even look up. "No one lives there," he said flatly. "Then, why are the rooms locked?" I asked. He folded his newspaper slowly, looked straight at me and said, "You're new here. Don't let your curiosity ruin your peace. Focus on your job. Stay in your room. At night, don't look out the window." That last line hit me like ice. Don't look out the window. Did he know I'd seen something? Ankit's confession. Later that day, I found Ankit in the common area, scrolling through his phone. I sat beside him and asked directly, "Who was that girl? The one in the backyard last night?" His face went pale instantly. He looked around to make sure no one was listening. "You saw her," he whispered. I nodded. He sighed deeply. "Bro, you need to get out of here. That girl, she's not alive." I laughed nervously, thinking he was joking. But his trembling voice said otherwise. "2 years ago," he continued, "this place wasn't a hostel. It used to be a girls' paying guest house. Same building, same rooms. One of the girls, she died here." My throat went dry. "How?" "They said it was suicide. But no one believed it. Her name was Ritika. She stayed in the same room you're in, 104. Everything inside me froze. My room, her room. Ankit looked me straight in the eye. After she died, the building was shut down for months. Then Mishra G bought it, repainted it, and turned it into a boys' hostel. But strange things never stopped. "Why doesn't anyone leave then?" I asked. "Because he doesn't return deposits. And some guys who tried to leave early," he paused. "They met accidents. Weird ones." The whisper returns. That night, I locked my door early. I checked every corner of the room, under the bed, even the window latch. I was trying to convince myself that all this was just stress or maybe sleep deprivation. But around 2:30 a.m., the sound came again, that same thud from the ceiling. I froze in bed. Then the dragging footsteps. Slow. Closer. This time, the sound didn't stop at my door. It went past, toward the staircase that led upstairs, the closed second floor. Without thinking, I grabbed my phone flashlight and opened the door. The corridor was dark and silent, except for the creaking sound from the top. My heart pounded as I climbed the stairs, one slow step at a time. The air grew colder, heavier. When I reached the second floor, I noticed something strange. The lock on one of the doors, room 204, was broken. The door was slightly open. I pushed it gently, and the rusty hinge squealed. Inside, the room looked abandoned, broken furniture, dust everywhere, and faint graffiti on the wall that said in red ink, "She never left." I stepped closer, trying to read more, when suddenly, the door slammed shut behind me. I turned around, terrified. "Who's there?" No reply. Only silence. Then my phone's flashlight flickered. For a split second, I saw her reflection in the cracked mirror. Long hair, pale skin, blood dripping from her wrist. I dropped my phone and ran. Locked inside. When I tried to open the door, it wouldn't budge. It felt like someone was holding it from the other side. I screamed, slammed my fists, but it didn't move. Then I heard it, that soft whisper again, right next to my ear. "You took my room." I turned, but no one was there. The window curtain fluttered even though there was no wind. The temperature in the room dropped suddenly. My chest tightened, I could barely breathe. The walls seemed to close in. I closed my eyes and started praying. I didn't even realize tears were running down my face. And then, everything stopped. Silence again. When I opened my eyes, the door was slightly open. I ran out, down the stairs, straight to my room, locked it, and stayed awake till sunrise. Morning revelation. The next morning, I confronted Mishra Ji again. My voice was shaking but angry. You knew about this. About that girl. He looked at me calmly. Everyone here sees what they deserve to see, he said coldly. Some people learn to live with it. I was speechless. You mean this place is haunted? Why do you keep it open? Because she doesn't harm those who obey. He walked away, leaving me there trembling. Later that day, I noticed something horrifying. When I checked my call log, the unknown number that called me last night, it was saved in my phone now, under the name Ritika. I swear I never saved it. The message. That night, I promised myself I wouldn't stay another day. I packed my bag and booked a cab for morning. But around midnight, my phone screen lit up again, a new message. It was from the same number. Don't leave. He killed me. I felt my whole body go numb. Who? I whispered to myself. But before I could type back, the power went out. Complete darkness. And from outside my window, the same pale face appeared again. This time, she wasn't staring up from the ground. She was right outside my window, on the first floor, her face inches away from the glass, eyes wide open, blood dripping from her mouth. I screamed and fell back. The window rattled violently as if someone was trying to break in. Then, silence. When I finally gathered courage and looked again, she was gone. Only a single bloody handprint remained on the glass. I didn't go to work the next morning. I just sat on my bed, staring at that bloody handprint on the window glass. The sunlight made it look brownish, like it had dried overnight. I didn't even have the courage to wipe it away. Everything inside me screamed to leave that place, but that message, "He killed me," kept echoing in my mind. Who was he? And why was Ritika's ghost trying to tell me this? The old newspaper. That afternoon, when Mishra Ji wasn't around, I sneaked into the reception area. There was an old metal cupboard beside the counter filled with papers and receipts. I started looking through them, hoping to find something, anything, about the hostel's past. After 15 minutes of searching, I found what I was looking for, a bundle of old newspaper clippings, tied with a rubber band. The top one had a faded headline that made my heart skip a beat. College girl found dead in Gurugram PG, suicide or murder. The article mentioned a name, Ritika Sharma, age 20. She was found hanging in her room, number 104, in what used to be Shanti Girls PG. The landlord had claimed it was suicide due to exam stress. But the parents had alleged foul play. There was a photo too, blurry, black and white, but I recognized her. The same pale face I'd seen outside my window. My hands trembled as I read the next paragraph. It said the landlord of that PG was none other than Mishra Prasad, the same man now running RK Boys Hostel. The neighbor's story. That evening, I stepped outside and visited a small tea stall near the hostel. The owner, a friendly uncle in his 50s, asked, "You're from that hostel, right? RK Boys." I nodded. "Why, uncle?" He gave a strange smile. "People still live there?" I thought it was shut down for good. I asked him if he knew about the old PG that existed before. He lowered his voice. "Everyone around here knows. The girl's death was never solved. Police stopped investigating after the landlord used his contacts. But her parents used to come here every month, crying, begging for justice. Then one day, they stopped coming too." "You mean, you think he killed her?" I asked. He shrugged. "No one knows. But after that night, people started hearing screams from that building. Lights flickering, windows breaking on their own. The landlord vanished for months, and when he came back, he had converted it into a boys' hostel. Same walls. Same rooms." I felt my throat tighten. "Her soul never left Beta," the uncle added quietly. "Places remember pain. Especially when the truth is buried." The hidden room. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. There had to be something hidden in this building, proof of what really happened. Around 1 a.m., I went out with my phone flashlight again. The hostel was silent. Most boys were asleep or had their headphones on. I went to the second floor, the one that was closed. This time, I noticed something new. At the end of the hallway, behind a broken cupboard, there was a small wooden door, barely visible. It looked like a storage room. I moved the cupboard aside and tried to open it. Locked. But the old lock was rusted. One hard pull and it snapped. The smell that came out was foul, like rot and old dust. Inside were some broken chairs, old boxes, and torn curtains. But when I shone the light on the far corner, I saw something strange, a trunk covered in cobwebs. When I opened it, I found clothes, women's clothes. Salwar suits, dupattas, and one white dress, the same kind the ghost was wearing. Under the clothes, there was a diary. On the first page, written in neat handwriting, it said, Ritika Sharma, room 104. The diary. I sat on the floor and began reading under the dim light of my phone. The early pages were normal, college notes, hostel gossip, daily routine. But then, a few days before her death, the tone changed. He keeps watching me. Says I can't leave without his permission. I'm scared. He came to my room again last night. Said if I tell anyone, no one will believe me. I tried calling my parents, but the line was cut. I don't feel safe anymore. The last entry stopped my breath. If something happens to me, it won't be suicide. It will be him, Mishra. I dropped the diary. My hands were shaking. All this time, I'd been living in the same room where she was murdered, by the same man who now acted like a harmless old caretaker. The confrontation. I couldn't sleep that night. I just sat on the bed with the diary in my lap, waiting for morning. But around 2:45 a.m., I heard footsteps again, slow and heavy, right outside my door. Then came the knock. 3 slow taps. I froze. Who is it? I whispered. No answer. Just silence. Then, the handle turned slowly. But I had locked it. From under the door, I saw a shadow, not human-shaped, longer, stretched unnaturally across the floor. Suddenly, a woman's voice whispered from inside my room, even though no one was there. He killed me here. I turned toward the window, and there she was. Ritika. Inside my room this time. Her pale face glowed faintly in the dark. Her eyes were full of pain, not anger. She slowly pointed toward the door. Don't trust him, she said. He will do it again. Then she vanished, just like smoke dissolving in air. The truth comes out. The next morning, I waited for Mishra Ji to arrive at the counter. When he did, I threw the diary on the table. You did it, didn't you? I shouted. You killed her. His face turned pale, then cold. He glanced at the diary but didn't touch it. You shouldn't have gone upstairs, he said quietly. You ruined everything. What are you hiding? I yelled. He looked up slowly, his expression changing, almost lifeless. She wanted to leave, he said softly. But she promised me she'd stay. She broke her promise. I took a step back, horrified. You strangled her? He smiled, a twisted, chilling smile. I didn't kill her, he said. I just helped her stay forever. Before I could respond, he grabbed the diary and threw it into the fire of the incense burner nearby. The pages caught flame instantly. You'll forget all this soon, he said calmly. Everyone does. I ran out of there, heart pounding, gasping for air. But as I reached the gate, I heard it again, that faint whisper behind me. Suhaib. I turned. The old man was gone. Only the gate creaked open on its own, as if inviting me to leave. I didn't look back. I ran. When I ran out of the hostel that morning, I swore to myself I'd never step back in that building again. But fear has a strange way of gripping you. It doesn't end when you run away. It follows you. Even after I rented a room in another area of Gurugram, the nightmares continued. Every night, I saw Ritika standing near my bed, whispering the same words. He killed me. Don't let him go. At first, I thought my mind was playing tricks. But one night, I woke up at 3:03 a.m. My phone screen was glowing on its own. There was a new message from that same number again. "You left me there." My heart almost stopped. I threw the phone away and turned on the lights. The screen flickered for a second, and then showed a photo. It was me, sleeping in my new room. Someone, or something, had taken that picture just moments ago. The return. I couldn't take it anymore. If this was Ritika's spirit reaching out for justice, then running wouldn't help. I had to end it. I had to face it, and him. The next morning, I went back to RK Boys' Hostel. The gate was locked from inside. I banged on it for several minutes until a young boy, one of the new tenants, opened it. "Mishra ji?" I asked. "He left last night," the boy replied. "Said the hostel is closing down." I rushed inside. The building looked emptier, darker, colder. Most of the rooms were vacant now. Dust hung in the air like fog. When I entered my old room, 104, it was exactly how I left it, except for one thing. The handprint on the window was gone. But there was something else. A note pinned to the wall, written in crooked handwriting. "If you open the truth, she will open the curse." The basement door. I walked through the hallways, my heart pounding in my chest. The smell of incense mixed with something metallic, like rust or dried blood. When I reached the end of the ground floor corridor, I noticed something I'd never seen before, a wooden hatch under the staircase. Almost hidden behind a mat. I lifted it, and a gust of cold, damp air hit my face. There were steps leading down into a basement. I switched on my phone flashlight and began descending slowly. The sound of dripping water echoed in the darkness. The basement was small, just a single room with cracked cement walls and old junk. But on one side, there was something covered with a large plastic sheet. When I pulled it off, I froze. It was an old wooden chair with thick ropes tied around it, like someone had been restrained there. The floor underneath was stained dark brown. And right beside it, a photo frame. A picture of Ritika, smiling in her college uniform. I felt my breath catch in my throat. This was where it happened. Not suicide, murder. The recording. As I stood there shaking, I noticed a small black recorder device on the floor near the chair, half buried in dust. I picked it up and pressed play. Static. Then, faint voices. A man's voice. Mishra's. "You promised, Ritika. You can't just leave. You belong here." Then a girl's voice, crying. "Please, let me go. I'll tell my parents." A loud thud. Then silence. After a few seconds, her faint breathing, and then the sound of a rope tightening. I dropped the recorder, horrified. My whole body trembled. But before I could move, the lights flickered. The temperature dropped instantly. And then I heard it. Footsteps behind me. Slow. Wet. Dragging. I turned around, and there she was. Ritika. Standing just a few feet away, her white dress stained, her eyes hollow. The curse unfolds. "You found it," she whispered, her voice echoing strangely. "Now you must finish it." Her words weren't angry. They were desperate, like she'd been waiting for this moment. I took a step back, terrified yet unable to move away. "What do you want from me?" I stammered. "He can't leave," she said. "He has to stay here, like me." Suddenly, loud footsteps echoed from above, someone running down the stairs. I turned and saw Mishra Ji at the entrance of the basement, panting heavily. His eyes were wide with panic. "I told you not to come back," he screamed. "You killed her." I shouted back. "I heard everything." "You don't understand," he yelled, his voice trembling. "She won't let me die. Every night, she comes back. She wants me to stay with her forever." Before I could say another word, the door behind him slammed shut. The whole room started shaking, dust falling from the ceiling, the lights swinging wildly. Ritika's ghost floated closer, her voice now echoing in both our heads. "No one leaves." Mishra fell to his knees, crying. "Please. I'm sorry. Let me go." But she only smiled, a sad, haunting smile, and whispered, "Stay." A sudden gust of air blew through the room. The lights went out. When I opened my eyes again, Mishra was gone. Only his shoes remained, lying near the chair. The burning. I ran out of the basement, gasping for air. The entire building seemed to be trembling. I could hear whispers all around me, dozens of voices, crying, laughing, chanting something in a language I couldn't understand. As I reached the main gate, the power came back on, and the hostel lights began flickering wildly. The curtains flapped, doors slammed, and from every window, faint silhouettes appeared, as if many souls were trapped inside. Then, I saw Ritika's reflection in the front glass door. "Burn it," she whispered. "End it all." I ran to the kitchen area, grabbed a bottle of kerosene and a matchbox, and went back to the basement door. My hands were trembling, but I knew what I had to do. "I'll set you free," I said softly. I lit the match and threw it down. The flames spread fast, smoke filling the hallways, fire climbing up the walls. I ran outside as the entire RK Boys hostel burst into flames behind me. The screams faded into the sound of crackling fire. For the first time, I felt peace, and an eerie silence. The final whisper. The next morning, news spread across Gurugram. Old Boys Hostel catches fire, owner missing, presumed dead. The police found no body. Only ashes, burnt furniture, and a single photograph, Ritika's, untouched by the fire. I stood there watching as the firefighters put out the last of the smoke. The nightmare was finally over. Or so I thought. That night, as I lay in my new apartment, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart dropped. I hesitated but answered. A soft female voice whispered, "Thank you, Suaib." Then the line went dead. I smiled weakly, relieved, thinking maybe she was finally free. But as I turned off the lights and looked toward the window, my smile faded. There, on the glass, was a fresh bloody handprint. For a few days after the fire, I felt free. I believed I'd done the right thing, that Ritika's soul was finally at peace, and the nightmare of RK Boys Hostel had ended forever. But peace doesn't last long when you've walked through hell. And soon, I realized, some things can't be burned away. The new apartment. My new apartment was small but clean, a one-bedroom flat near MG Road, Gurugram. The first few nights were quiet. No whispers, no footsteps, no shadows. I even started going back to work. My colleagues noticed I looked calmer. One of them, Rohit, joked, "Bro, you look like you fought ghosts and won." If only he knew how close that joke was to the truth. But by the end of the week, the unease returned. It started with small things, lights flickering for no reason, the TV turning on by itself, my bedroom door creaking open at 3 a.m. At first, I thought it was my imagination, leftover trauma. But then, one morning, I found a handprint on my bathroom mirror. Fresh, wet, blood red. The visitor. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the mirror, waiting for something to happen. Around 2:58 a.m., I heard the same familiar tap-tap-tap on my window. 3 soft knocks. My whole body froze. I didn't want to look, but I had to. I turned my head slowly, and there she was. Ritika. Not outside the glass this time, inside the room. She stood near the foot of my bed, her white dress faintly glowing in the dark, her eyes filled with sorrow. But this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her, I could see faint figures, other girls, their faces blurred, whispering something in unison. "He's not gone," Ritika whispered. "He's with you." Before I could react, she vanished, and my phone started ringing. Unknown number. Again. With trembling hands, I answered. Static. Then a deep male voice, calm, cold, familiar. "You shouldn't have burned my house, Suaib." I froze. It was Mishra. The police report. The next morning, I went straight to the police station. I told them everything, about the hostel, Ritika's death, the basement, the fire. The officer listened silently, then said, "We found no body in the debris. But we did find this." He handed me a clear plastic bag. Inside was a burnt locket, gold, with the initials RS carved on it. "It was near a charred chair in the basement," he said. I recognized it immediately, the same locket Ritika wore in her photo. "We're reopening the case," the officer said. But tell me something, how did you know where to find her diary? I hesitated. How could I tell him that her ghost had shown me? Just intuition, I said quietly. He gave me a long look, then said, if that place was cursed, you shouldn't have gone back. I left without saying another word. But the strange thing was, as I stepped out of the station, I saw a shadow reflected on the glass door beside me. It was Mishra's silhouette. When I turned, no one was there. The return of the shadow. That night, I kept all the lights on. I even placed a small Lord Hanuman idol on my table, hoping it would bring peace. But peace was far away. Around 1:30 a.m., I woke to the sound of footsteps in my living room. I grabbed my phone flashlight and slowly peeked out. The main door was slightly open. A cold wind was blowing in. I stepped closer, and there, on the floor, were muddy footprints leading from the door to my bedroom. When I followed them, my blood turned cold. They stopped right next to my bed. And beside the prints were burnt shoe marks. No, it can't be, I whispered. Then, from behind me, a voice spoke softly. You burned me alive. I spun around. Mishra was standing there, or what was left of him. His skin charred, his eyes hollow, smoke rising from his clothes. You set me free from her, he said, his voice echoing unnaturally. But now she's free, from me. What do you mean? I stammered. He smiled, that same eerie smile I'd seen before the fire. She doesn't need the hostel anymore, Suaib. You brought her with you. And then, he vanished, leaving behind only the faint smell of burnt wood. The haunting spreads. After that night, everything changed. No matter where I went, office, cafe, metro, I felt watched. Reflections in windows started showing her face instead of mine. When I opened my phone camera, sometimes her eyes appeared faintly behind me. And every night, the same dream, Ritika standing in the flames, whispering, You opened the curse. I tried contacting a local priest. He came to my apartment and started chanting prayers. But halfway through, he stopped, sweating profusely. This isn't a spirit anymore, he said. It's become a bond. She's attached to your soul now. She doesn't want justice, she wants to stay. So what do? I begged. He packed his things quickly and said one sentence before leaving. You can't get rid of her. You can only understand what she wants. The voice in the mirror. That evening, I decided to face her once again. I dimmed the lights, sat in front of the mirror, and whispered, Ritika, I'm here. Tell me what you want. At first, nothing happened. Then, the mirror fogged up, like someone was breathing on it from the other side. Slowly, words appeared on the glass. He wasn't alone. My pulse spiked. Who? I whispered. Find his partner. End this, and I'll rest. Before the fog cleared, her reflection appeared, not terrifying this time, but sad. And then it faded away. The hidden partner. The next morning, I went back to the newspaper archives. I rechecked every article about the PG case. One name caught my eye. Sandeep, the maintenance supervisor who had testified that he found Ritika's body. He had worked under Mishra. According to police records, Sandeep had disappeared a week after Ritika's death. No one ever questioned him again. Now, years later, I knew what Ritika meant. Mishra didn't act alone. And if her curse was tied to unfinished justice, maybe stopping Sandeep was the only way to end it all. But I didn't know where to find him. Until that night, when I received another message. He never left Gurugram. And attached was a location pin. The final warning. I stared at my phone for a long time, heart pounding. The location showed an old, abandoned factory area near Sona Road, not far from where the hostel once stood. As I packed my things and prepared to go, a cold breeze swept through my room. The mirror on the wall cracked slightly, and a faint whisper filled the air. Finish it, Suaib, before it finishes you. I didn't know if she was protecting me or leading me into another nightmare. But I had no choice. The truth wasn't over yet. And neither was her curse. The night air was heavy, thick with silence. I stood outside the abandoned factory near Sona Road, staring at the rusted gates. The same location Ritika had sent me, or maybe her spirit. It was past midnight. The city lights didn't reach here, only the faint glow of my flashlight cut through the dark. Every step I took echoed eerily, like the ground remembered what had happened here. As I entered the factory compound, the smell hit me first. Mold, burnt metal, and something else. Something rotten. The factory of shadows. Broken machines lay scattered around, spiderwebs hanging like ghostly curtains. On one of the pillars, I saw faded paint that read, SG Industries. The same initials as Sandeep Gupta. So this was his place. I moved deeper inside. Somewhere in the distance, I heard faint humming, like someone softly singing an old Bollywood tune. It was coming from the basement. As I reached the staircase, my flashlight started flickering. My heart raced. I took a deep breath and stepped down. The humming grew louder, clearer, a male voice. And then, I saw him. A man sitting on the floor, cross-legged, facing an old photograph of Ritika taped to the wall. Candles surrounded him. His head was shaved, his clothes filthy. When he heard me, he turned slowly and smiled. You finally came, he said. She told me you would. It was Sandeep. The confession. My mouth went dry. You were Mishra's partner, weren't you? I asked. He chuckled softly, picking up one of the candles and staring into the flame. Partner? No. Mishra was weak. He couldn't control her. Control who? He looked up, his eyes hollow but burning with madness. Ritika. She was special. She had power. When she resisted him, I showed her what fear means. My blood ran cold. You killed her, I whispered. We both did, he said casually. But she didn't die that night. She cursed us before she took her last breath. Mishra thought he could trap her spirit in that hostel. Foolish man. He tried rituals. I left him to his doom. He stood up slowly, smiling. But you set her free. I took a step back. She sent me to end this, Sandeep. You're the last one left. He laughed, an unhinged sound echoing off the walls. End this. You don't understand. Once you burn her house, she needs a new one. You're her new home now. My stomach twisted. What do you mean? She's inside you, Suaib. I can see her eyes behind yours. The possession. Before I could react, the candles around us blew out, all at once. Darkness swallowed the room. Then a whisper, soft, cold, familiar, brushed past my ear. Don't believe him. I spun around, but there was no one. Sandeep started screaming suddenly, clawing at his face. She's here. She's here, he yelled. Get her out. The ground trembled. The walls began to shake, dust falling from the ceiling. My flashlight flickered wildly, and in one flash, I saw her. Ritika. Standing between us. Her hair floating, her eyes glowing red, her dress scorched by invisible fire. You killed me, she said, her voice echoing like thunder. You both did. Sandeep fell to his knees, crying. Forgive me. Please, forgive me. She moved closer, her face now a horrifying mix of pain and rage. I forgave no one. She raised her hand, and Sandeep's body jerked violently. His screams filled the air as black smoke poured from his mouth and eyes. Within seconds, silence. He collapsed, lifeless. The final confrontation. I backed away, trembling. Ritika, it's over. You got your revenge. Now rest. She turned toward me, and for a moment, her expression softened. I never wanted revenge, she whispered. I wanted to be heard. To be remembered. Her form began to flicker like a dying flame. You told my story, she said softly. That's enough. I stepped closer, tears in my eyes. Then please, go in peace. But as she smiled faintly, something strange happened. The ground cracked beneath me, and I felt a cold force pulling me backward, like something else was trying to drag me into the darkness. No! Ritika shouted. Not him! She extended her hand toward me, her body glowing brighter and brighter, until everything exploded in white light. The morning after. When I opened my eyes, Sunlight was streaming through broken windows. The factory was silent. Sandeep's body was gone. No candles. No photographs. Just ashes on the floor, and Ritika's locket lying beside me. I picked it up. The gold had turned silver, cold to the touch, but peaceful. As I walked out, I saw a police van parked outside. An officer approached me. "You're lucky," he said. "Locals reported fire sounds last night. We found no one here, except you, unconscious." I nodded slowly. "What about the other man?" "There was no one else," he said. "But we did find this." He handed me a photo frame they'd found near the gate, a picture of Ritika smiling, untouched by time or fire. The final sign. Days passed. I left Gurugram and moved to Delhi, trying to start fresh again. But the nightmares had stopped. The voices were gone. For the first time in months, I could sleep peacefully. One evening, as I unpacked my things, I found her locket again. I opened it. Inside was a small note folded tightly. I don't remember ever putting it there. It read, "Thank you for freeing me. Ritika." I smiled faintly, feeling a strange warmth in the room. But just as I placed the locket on my table, my phone screen lit up by itself. A notification popped up. New message. Unknown number. "You can't escape the house you built for her." The phone flickered, and for half a second, the wallpaper changed. It showed the old RK Boys hostel, completely intact, lights glowing through every window. And one silhouette standing at the window, watching me. The end skull. Story summary for YouTube description, optional. A young man moves into a boys' hostel in Gurugram, unaware of its dark history. When supernatural events reveal a girl's murder and a deep conspiracy, he burns the haunted place, only to discover the spirit has followed him. In the end, he learns that some souls don't seek revenge. They seek remembrance.